What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a story that starts with a total nightmare but turns into one of the most satisfying comeback tales you'll ever see. Imagine coming home after a long shift only to find your wife in bed with your own junior colleague from work. That's exactly what happens to our main character, Mitsuhiko. To make matters even worse, his wife has the nerve to blame him for her betrayal, and his office turns against him because of lies spread by the man who ruined his marriage. But just when Mitsuhiko thinks he's lost everything, two mysterious high school girls appear at his front door. It turns out they are twin sisters he used to tutor years ago, and they aren't just there for a visit. They've run away from home and are looking for a place to stay. What follows is a wild journey of healing and revenge. While Mitsuhiko tries to rebuild his life and start a brand new company, these twins become his biggest supporters. So, grab a snack, get comfortable, and let's jump right into the story. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Our main character, Okaya Mitsuhiko, begins by telling us the heartbreaking news that his wife has cheated on him. He explains that they had been dating ever since their college days and that she was someone everyone liked. He truly considered her his pride and joy, so he never imagined she would betray him by having an affair with a junior colleague from his own work. In a flashback to the moment he caught them, his wife, Misaye, actually has the nerve to claim that everything is Mitsuhiko's fault. Seeing her with her affair partner makes him realize that he just doesn't care anymore. He decides that since she's gone, he might as well go out and find something to eat because he's starting to feel hungry. As he steps out of his apartment, he wonders what kind of luxurious meal he should treat himself to. However, his plans are interrupted when he finds a high school girl sitting on the floor right outside his door. She looks up at him with tears in her eyes and calls him sensei, which leaves him completely shocked. Before he can figure out what's going on, another girl, a flashy gal type, suddenly appears and accuses him of being the one who made her older sister cry. Mitsuhiko is left standing there in total disbelief, wondering why this is happening. The blonde girl starts comforting her sister, telling her not to cry and teasing Mitsuhiko for being a bad mister. Mitsuhiko tries to defend himself, saying that he didn't do anything, internally questioning who these girls even are. He takes a moment to look at them properly, noting that one is an energetic blonde and the other is a beautiful girl with long black hair. He is still stuck on the fact that they are at his front door and calling him sensei. The blonde girl gets straight to the point and asks him if he will let them stay the night. Then, in a shocking twist, both girls look at him and suggest that in exchange for a place to stay, they would be okay with doing some very dirty things. So after that wild offer, the blonde girl asks him if he didn't hear her and repeats that they can do those dirty things if he just lets them stay. Mitsuhiko is totally flustered and tells them to stop teasing adults. He makes it clear that he has no such intentions and tells them they need to leave right now. But then the black-haired girl begs him to listen, saying they truly have nowhere else to go. She calls him Okarin-sensei, which stops him in his tracks. He wonders to himself how many years it's been since he last heard that nickname, and he suddenly has a flashback to two little girls from his past. The realization hits him like a bolt of lightning. He remembers that they were students at the cram school where he used to work as a part-time employee. He recognizes them as the twin sisters Ina Akari and Ina Nanako. The girls are absolutely overjoyed that he remembered them. Akari immediately starts teasing her sister, Nanako, about how much she's grown, specifically mentioning her G-cup size. Nanako gets all embarrassed and tells Akari to stop saying unnecessary things. Not to be outdone, Akari brags that she is an F-cup and tells him to keep that in mind. Looking at them, Mitsuhiko thinks to himself that while they certainly look more grown up, their personalities haven't changed one bit in 10 years. Once they're inside, he asks them how they even knew he lived there. Akari tries to act cool, calling herself a great detective. Mitsuhiko remembers they lived in the same apartment complex when he was in college, but he still wants to know how they tracked him down. The truth comes out, and it's a bit spooky. Akari explains that they used to follow him home after his part-time job ended. Mitsuhiko tells them that's basically a crime, and Nanako starts apologizing, saying she knew it was wrong even then. However, Akari teases her sister by revealing that Nanako was actually the one most excited about following him. Mitsuhiko realizes again that they really are the same as they were a decade ago. Thinking about all this nostalgia actually makes Mitsuhiko start to tear up. The girls get really worried and ask him what's wrong. He tries to brush it off, saying he just feels nostalgic, and he offers them some cola to change the subject. But he's so shaken up that he accidentally spills the cola right onto Nanako's skirt. He panics and asks if she's okay.
Akari starts teasing her sister again, saying Nanako is acting like a maiden just because her beloved sensei touched her hand. Nanako looks really down and apologizes for the mess, so Mitsuhiko instinctively reaches out and pats her on the head to comfort her. He immediately realizes what he's doing and panics, apologizing for the old habit and worrying if it was unpleasant for her. But as he pulls away, Nanako thinks to herself that the head pat actually made her feel really relieved. So things are moving pretty fast. Akari asks if she can borrow the shower, and Mitsuhiko agrees to show them where the bathroom is. Being her usual teasing self, she even asks if he wants to join them, but he tells her to stop talking nonsense and goes to find them some spare clothes. She just laughs and tells him he's boring for not getting more excited. Watching them walk away, Mitsuhiko feels a strange sense of relief just being around them. He reflects on how wildly his day has changed, going from losing his wife to a coworker to having his former students suddenly show up at his house. He sits back on his sofa, feeling like his life is turned into some kind of fast-paced drama. He's worried about the social risks of letting two high school girls stay over, but at the same time, he admits he's feeling really lonely after the betrayal he went through. Suddenly, the girls scream out that they have a huge problem. They burst back out into the room wearing nothing but towels, panicking because the washing machine doesn't seem to be working. They look completely distressed and ask him what they should do. Mitsuhiko is absolutely stunned by the sight. Akari seems happy that she managed to surprise him, though she insists that the broken machine is a real problem. He tells them to put some clothes on immediately, while Akari teases him for not trying to sneak a peek, saying that's what usually happens in rom-coms. Now dressed in some of his oversized shirts, Akari starts bragging about how great her sister's figure is, even pointing out that they aren't wearing bras. She notes that they have nothing else to wear to go home. Mitsuhiko tries to stay firm, telling them he won't get worked up by children, but he's frustrated to find out the washing machine is truly broken. Akari asks him if he'd really throw two innocent girls out into the cold. He's conflicted because he knows it looks bad for a man to have minors stay at his house, but he also realizes that because they are so pretty, some real creeps might approach them if they leave. Then Akari drops a total bombshell by asking him if he's a virgin. He's so shocked he can't even find the words to respond. She keeps pushing his buttons, saying that any normal guy would be excited in this situation. Nanako tries to apologize for her sister's behavior, but Akari just keeps teasing him. Mitsuhiko realizes that sending them out late at night is too dangerous. He feels a sense of duty to look after them, especially since they have nowhere else to go. He decides that since it can't be helped, he has to make a final call. Just as the girls suggest that they should probably just go spend the night at a nearby laundromat, Mitsuhiko speaks up and tells them that he'll let them stay. The twins are absolutely overjoyed and can hardly believe he's serious. The twins are absolutely thrilled that they get to stay, shouting that they finally did it. While they celebrate, Mitsuhiko is standing there wondering why those words even came out of his mouth. Akari immediately takes charge and says she's going to make some food, but she can't help teasing him by saying that since her sister is a terrible cook, he should just pay with his body instead. Of course, Nanako gets super embarrassed and tells her to stop saying such weird things. Mitsuhiko just lets out a big sigh and tries to set some boundaries, telling them that they are only staying for today. Even though he's trying to be firm, he reflects on how these two are slowly starting to seep into his wounded heart. Suddenly, we get a painful memory from his office. A younger colleague mocks him, calling him the window seat petitor because he just sits there and no one knows what he's actually doing. The guy brags about finishing his work and going home early. The coworker keeps rubbing it in, saying he has a date with a super crazy hot girl. He even offers to show a picture of her, saying her name is Misai, which we know is Mitsuhiko's wife. Mitsuhiko wakes up abruptly from this nightmare, panting and wondering if he actually let those girls sleep in his bed or what. He heads to the kitchen and finds Akari already awake and wearing an apron. She gives him a cheerful morning greeting and notices he's up early. When he asks about her uniform, she explains that she fixed the broken washing machine by just giving it a good kick. She tells him to forget about that and look at the breakfast she made for him. She serves him some toast and coffee, but complains that the fridge was totally empty, so she had to go to the store looking like a mess. She starts venting for him, calling his wife a hag and saying it's the worst that she doesn't cook and still cheats. She even goes as far as to say that the woman is a failure as a human being. Mitsuhiko gets a little suspicious and asks how she even knows that Misai cheated. Akari gets really frightened and flustered, quickly changing the subject and pushing him to just shut up and eat his food. She then brings him his coffee, noting that it's exactly how he likes it, iced, no sugar, and heavy on the milk. Mitsuhiko is genuinely touched and surprised that she remembered such a specific detail from 10 years ago. She tells him to stop making such a gloomy face and to just forget about that stupid woman already, and he starts to think that she might be right. Akari continues her teasing, suggesting that he should just take her and her sister as a package deal set. She notices Nanako is still asleep and says she'll go wake her up, but Mitsuhiko stops her to say he's heading out to work. Akari is shocked that he has to work on a Saturday and calls his workplace a black company for making him work on the weekend. As he gets ready to leave, he admits to himself that she's right about him not doing anything wrong. Suddenly, Akari leans in and gives him a quick kiss on the cheek. She tells him it's a lucky charm to give him energy for the day. Mitsuhiko is left completely stunned as he heads out, telling her he'll be back early while she cheers him on. Just as Mitsuhiko is about to leave, he sees Nanako walking out, looking very sleepy and rubbing her eyes. He asks her if she just woke up, and she sleepily wishes him a good morning. He gives her a gentle goodbye and heads out to face his day at work. While he's on his way, his mind is filled with thoughts of that guy Kisagawa. He remembers how he came home after working all night without telling his wife, Misai, only to find Kisagawa in bed with her. Even worse, his wife had the audacity to claim it was all his fault. Mitsuhito reflects on how Kisagawa has always been a charmer who knows how to get people, especially women, on his side. He wonders how he can even show his face at the office, but his thoughts are interrupted when he's called into the office of the editor-in-chief, Junikane, first thing in the morning. The boss doesn't waste any time and tells him that she wants him to leave their current book label. Mitsuhiko is shocked and asks why this is happening so suddenly. She explains that there's a rumor going around the office that he is the one having an affair. Mitsuhiko is completely stunned and denies it, asking why anyone would say such a thing. Junikane claims he's been seeing someone's partner from their own label. Mitsuhiko realizes that Kisagawa must be the source of this lie. When he asks why she believes Kisagawa and not him, she says it's because Kisagawa isn't the type to lie. At that moment, Mitsuhiko realized the rumors about the boss and Kisagawa being involved were actually true. Feeling totally betrayed, Mitsuhiko decides he's done with the whole place. He tells her that he's not just leaving the label, but quitting the entire company. The boss is taken aback and says she only meant for him to change labels, but he doesn't care anymore. He tells her it's fine and walks right out. Outside, he's fuming until he's stopped by Uematsu, the deputy editor-in-chief. Uematsu tells him not to be so upset and asks to talk for a bit. He admits that he knows a serious guy like Mitsuhiko would never have an affair.
He even tried to tell the boss that, but she wouldn't listen to him. Uematsu goes on to say that he's always watched Mitsuhiko work harder than anyone else, staying late and supporting the office no matter what others thought of him. He says he knows for a fact that Mitsuhiko isn't a cheater. Hearing someone finally believe in him and appreciate his hard work makes Mitsuhiko break down in tears of gratitude. Then, Uematsu drops a huge surprise. He asks Mitsuhiko if he would be interested in starting a brand new label with him. Mitsuhiko is confused by the idea, but Uematsu explains that he plans to leave the company soon to start his own light novel business. He says there's too much red tape at big publishers and he hates seeing good stories vanish just because they don't get high points. He wants Mitsuhiko to join him in this new venture. We pick up with Uematsu mentioning how crazy their current workplace is. With all those insane weekend shifts and staying up until morning, he points out that they're supposed to be regular employees, not robots. Mitsuhiko remembers how the twins told him he should quit, and he finally realizes they were right all along. He looks Uematsu in the eye and asks to join him in the new business, and they seal the deal with a solid handshake. Later that day, Mitsuhiko finally makes it back home, feeling completely drained. He's so tired that he just collapses onto his bed to get some sleep. But wait, as he's lying there, he notices that something feels incredibly soft. He opens his eyes and realizes that Nanako is actually sleeping right there in his bed. He's completely frozen in shock, wondering what on earth is going on. Still half asleep, Nanako mumbles for her sensei and reaches out to hug him. Just as things get super awkward, Akari peeks through the door and catches them together. Akari starts teasing them immediately, acting like she totally gets what's happening between them. Mitsuhiko tries to tell her she's seriously misunderstanding the situation, but she just tells them to take their time and playfully waves them off. Poor Nanako is just starting to wake up, looking totally slumped and out of it. Akari keeps the jokes going, asking if Nanako is doing naughty things in Mitsuhiko's bed. Nanako is panicking and trying to explain that it's not what it looks like, while Mitsuhiko tells Akari to stop bullying her big sister. He notices a vacuum cleaner on the floor and realizes Nanako was actually cleaning up the place for him, so he thanks her for the help. Akari finally tells them that dinner is ready, so they all head over to eat. While they eat, Mitsuhiko is impressed by how delicious everything is. Akari playfully claims she packed the food with all her love for him, and even says she studied cooking specifically so she could become his wife one day. Mitsuhiko just laughs it off, thinking she's joking. Akari realizes he still only sees them as his students, and she tells Nanako that they have a long journey ahead of them to change his mind. The conversation turns serious as Akari asks what he's going to do about his dumb wife. Mitsuhiko firmly states that he is divorcing her, which makes both girls celebrate with a huge heck yeah. He explains that he's been trying to talk to her all morning to do it in person, but she's just reading his messages and ignoring him. Akari doesn't hold back, calling the woman the absolute worst and a failure as a human being. Mitsuhiko mentions that he might even let the alimony money go because he doesn't want the legal stuff to drag on. Akari tells him it's a good call to break up, and mentions that since he works at a big company, he doesn't need that petty cash anyway. But then, Mitsuhiko drops the biggest bomb of the night. He calmly tells them that he actually quit his job. The girls are absolutely stunned and left shivering in total disbelief.
Mitsuhiko starts off by explaining the situation with his job, telling the girls that his deputy editor actually invited him to start a brand new company. The twins are totally caught off guard. Akari, being her usual self, immediately declares that she will be his second child bride and firmly support the household. Not wanting to be outdone, Nanako says she will be the first child bride and do her best to save money. She even mumbles that she'll do her best at night, too, which is just a lot to process. Akari keeps the teasing going, asking if she should help her sister out with those duties, but Mitsuhiko shuts it down with a firm no. He gets very serious and reminds them that he only agreed to let them stay for one night. He finally asks them the big question. What exactly do they mean when they say they have nowhere else to go? He asks if their parents aren't worried about them, but Akari tells him there is no way that person would be concerned. Nanako sadly admits that she just doesn't want to go back to that house anymore. When Mitsuhiko suggests that they should be going to the police or child services, Akari tells him that it's impossible because those people didn't help them at all. Mitsuhiko starts to realize that the problems these girls are facing run much deeper than he ever imagined. Akari explains that their grandparents are already gone, and their other relatives won't even listen to them properly. Nanako looks at him and says that he's the only adult left that they can actually rely on. She tells him there is no reason for him to be suffering because of a stupid woman like his wife. Looking at them, Mitsuhiko feels a massive wave of guilt. He reflects on how these girls are going through so much trauma, yet they are still worried about him and trying their best to cheer him up. He realizes that while they were being so selfless, he was only thinking about his own problems. He looks at the two of them trembling on the sofa and wonders what he can possibly do for them. After a long silence, he finally tells them that they can stay at his place for a while. The girls are absolutely shocked by his change of heart. Nanako is still worried, mentioning that they are minors and that living together will put a huge financial burden on him. Mitsuhiko gives her a gentle head pat and tells her not to be stupid. He says he isn't so broke that he needs kids to worry about him. He tells them not to worry about living expenses at all and says they will go out to get their daily necessities the next day. Akari is absolutely beaming and asks if it's really okay. Nanako still feels like they are causing him too much trouble, but Mitsuhiko reassures her that he doesn't think it's a bother at all, not even 1%. Akari gets so excited that she playfully threatens to kiss him, while Mitsuhiko tells Nanako that she needs to be a bit more carefree like her sister. So the blonde twin, Akari, is absolutely hyped. She shouts out that she can finally start living with Okaran without having to worry about anything anymore. But Okaran, being the responsible adult he is, cuts through the excitement and asks what they are planning to do with school. Akari quickly explains that they are currently on spring break, so they don't have to worry about classes yet. Her sister, Nanako, adds that their high school is actually just a short train ride away from Okaran's place. Akari finishes by saying they have plenty of time before the new term starts, so everything will be totally fine. Then, Okaran brings up the big question. What about their tuition? Nanako doesn't seem stressed at all and tells him that it won't be a problem. Okaran nods and tells them that if anything comes up, they should definitely let him know. However, he drops a bit of a reality check. He explains that he really needs to talk to their parents because he can't let them live with him without getting proper permission first. This clearly makes Akari a bit nervous as she lets out a worried sound, while Nanako just calmly says she understands.
The next morning, we see Akari waking up and stretching. She notices Nanako is still out cold, and even in her sleep, Nanako is mumbling about how much she loves her sensei. It's pretty cute, but it clearly gets Akari thinking. She looks at her sleeping sister and remembers a time back home when Nanako asked if they should just run away. Back then, Nanako had hugged her and promised that she would never let Akari be alone. Akari stares at her sister with a really serious look. She thinks back to how Nanako promised that as long as Akari was happy, that was all that mattered. Akari checks her phone and sees there are no new messages from their real family, which makes her wonder if this new family with Okurin is actually much better for them. Nanako eventually wakes up and notices Akari is acting a bit strange, but Akari brushes it off, saying it's nothing. Internally, Akari makes a huge promise. She is going to make sure her sister and Okurin end up together no matter what. Just then, Okurin walks into the room to wish them a good morning. Akari instantly flips back into her high energy mode and greets him loudly. Okurin remarks on how she's already full of energy so early in the day, and Akari jokes that being energetic is pretty much her only good quality. Nanako, on the other hand, is super shy and can barely get out a good morning greet. Akari teases her sister, telling her that just being beautiful won't be enough to win Okurin's heart. Akari doesn't stop there. She tells Nanako that she needs to show off more sex appeal, but Okurin isn't having any of it and gives her a playful bonk on the head. Flustered, Akari starts apologizing because she hasn't finished making breakfast yet, but Okurin just reaches out and gently pats her head. He asks why she's even apologizing and reminds her that making breakfast isn't her job. He tells her very kindly that she's a kid, not a housemaid, and she shouldn't feel pressured. Akari is totally moved by his kindness, and for a second she's speechless, but then she snaps out of it and insists that since he's the one earning the money, she should at least cook for him. She suddenly pivots and says she's going to make breakfast right now after all. Okurin stops her again, looking very serious but gentle. He tells both of them that they are still minors and still just kids. He says that while he's grateful they can cook, they don't need to take the lead on housework. He looks them in the eyes and tells them that they should try to rely more on adults. This totally overwhelms Akari, who admits she can't handle it when he's that sweet. To lighten the mood, Okurin suggests they all go out to a place near the station that has great breakfast sets. Akari is immediately on board, and even Nanako agrees that it sounds like a great idea. The scene starts at a really nice cafe with a calm vibe. Nanako mentions how much she likes the place because it feels so cozy, and Okurin smiles, telling her that she has good taste because it's one of his favorite spots too. He asks Akari if she likes this kind of place as well, but Akari is having a total internal meltdown. She is blushing like crazy and wondering why on earth she ended up sitting right next to Okurin. She thinks to herself that her older sister Nanako should be the one sitting there getting all flirty. Okurin notices they are a bit quiet and mentions that being there brings back a lot of memories. He reminisces about the time he used to tutor both of them at the cram school and says they used to sit just like this back then. Nanako just gives a sweet little nod in agreement. Okurin points out that while Akari couldn't sit still next to her sister, she used to get strangely quiet whenever she sat next to him. Akari realizes internally that of course she was quiet, it's because she was sitting next to the person she loved. To change the subject, Okurin asks if Akari still likes cream soda, since this place makes a really good one. But just as he's being sweet, his phone starts vibrating with a call. Akari's eyes go wide when she sees the caller ID says Rushia Sensei. She immediately gets suspicious and wonders if there's another woman in the picture. She realizes that even if Okurin is single now, he's such a wonderful man that other women are bound to start chasing after him soon. She looks at her sister, who is just enjoying the nice weather, and vows that she has to get Nanako and Okurin together as fast as possible. As they finish up, Nanako mentions how good the breakfast was and that she's excited to go shopping. Akari looks at her older sister with a very serious expression. She tells Nanako that she just wants her to be happy, and that's the most important thing to her. Nanako gives her a beautiful, soft smile and tells Akari that they should be happy together. She explains that she doesn't want to be happy alone and that she wants to keep smiling right alongside her sister. Akari is so moved by this that she starts tearing up, agreeing that her sister is totally right. But then Akari's energy comes back at 100%. She suddenly suggests that the two of them should just get Okurin to marry both of them together. Nanako is completely shocked and flustered by the idea, but Akari keeps going, suggesting a sister combo. She tells Nanako that if they both keep pushing him hard enough, Okurin is bound to give in to them eventually because he's so kind. Akari gets even more pumped up, saying they need to launch a twin barrage of heart-melting attacks to make him fall for them. Nanako is still blushing and says she doesn't think she can do it, but Akari tries to pump her up, saying that where there's a will, there's a way. Okaran finally comes back from the bathroom and tells them to stop being so noisy and not to bother the other customers. Akari immediately jumps on him for a hug, telling him how much she loves him. Nanako tries to play the responsible one, telling Akari not to tease their sensei too much. Okaran just sighs and tells them that he isn't going to fall for that kind of sweet talk. However, his mood shifts instantly when his phone goes off again with another notification. His face goes completely pale and the twins immediately notice that something is wrong. They ask him what happened, looking really worried. The camera pans down to his phone, showing a series of messages from his ex-wife, Misai. She's pleading for him to contact her so they can talk about the divorce, but then she drops a bombshell. She claims she was wrong, wants to meet up to apologize, and says she actually wants to start over with him. The scene starts with Mitsuhiko talking to Nanako. He tells her that he's sorry, but he has to head out the next morning for a bit, even though they had planned to go shopping. He promises that he's free in the afternoon so they can go then instead. Nanako says that it's totally fine, but she looks a bit worried and hesitant. In the kitchen, Akari is absolutely shocked. She asks if Okaran is really going to meet that dumb wife and wants to know why. Mitsuhiko explains that he received a message from Misai where she claimed she was wrong and wanted to meet in person to apologize and start over. He admits that he's been acting a bit weird since getting that message. Akari is fuming. She shouts about what kind of nonsense that is and calls the wife a total idiot for wanting to get back together after cheating. Nanako joins in, saying she has never heard of anyone being so disrespectful. Both girls look at him with deep concern, asking if he's actually planning to reconcile with her. Mitsuhiko quickly reassures them that it won't happen. He explains that his feelings for Misai are completely gone and that he is only meeting her to make her sign the divorce papers. The twins are so relieved that they practically start glowing. However, Nanako wonders why the wife and suddenly want to reconcile now of all times. Akari says that the answer is actually very simple. She explains her theory that the flashy guy Misai cheated with probably got bored and dumped her. Nanako is surprised and asks if there wasn't even a little bit of love between them, but Akari points out that the wife has a terrible personality and that the affair partner was clearly just a shallow person. Nanako thinks the whole situation is disgusting and says it makes her want to puke. She realizes that the wife is only crawling back to Okaran because she has nowhere else to go. Akari adds that she doesn't feel a shred of sympathy for a woman that low. She mentions that if the wife were truly sorry, she would have come to bow her head in person instead of just sending a text message. Mitsuhiko tells the girls that they should stop wasting their energy being mad because someone like that just isn't worth it. The twins realize he's right and calm down. He then tells them that the meeting is at 10 a.m. at the same cafe they visited earlier. Akari immediately recognizes the place. The twins immediately try to pressure him into letting them tag along, but Mitsuhiko firmly tells them no.
He explains that this is a private problem between him and his wife and insists that they stay at home. The girls reluctantly agree to listen to his order. As they talk on the sofa, Akari tells him that if he needs backup, he just has to say the word and she'll storm in with her trump card. When Mitsuhiko asks what she means, she describes it as a super effective move that can blow the cheating wife away in one shot. Mitsuhiko just gives a small smile and says he's just going to get the papers signed, so he doubts he'll need any cards. The next morning, Mitsuhiko arrives at the cafe. As he walks in, he reminds himself that he doesn't feel even the slightest bit of sympathy for Misai. He tells himself that he is only there to get the signature so he can finally put the past behind him. He spots Misai sitting there, and she looks up, apologizing for making him come out when he's so busy. Misai starts off by telling Mitsuhiko that she is sorry for betraying him in that way. However, Mitsuhiko is completely cold to her. He tells her that what she did was a straight-up betrayal and that they are definitely getting a divorce. He hands her the papers right then and there. Misai tries to jump up and make an excuse, but he tells her firmly that he isn't interested in hearing anything she has to say. Misai gets even louder, begging him to listen to her. The other people in the cafe are starting to whisper and stare at them. Mitsuhiko gives her a very sharp look and tells her to sit back down because she is disturbing everyone else. He has to tell her twice before she finally sits, looking totally defeated.
He tells her to just hurry up and sign the papers already. Misae asks if they can't just talk through it properly, but Mitsuhiko asks what there is left to discuss. He brings up the undeniable fact that she slept with another man while they were still married. Misae starts to panic and tries to claim that it wasn't what it looked like, but she can't even finish her sentence. Seeing that her words aren't working, she switches tactics to something even more manipulative. She moves over and sits right next to him, asking him to forgive her and saying she wants them to be close again like they used to be. Mitsuhiko thinks to himself that she has actually moved on to trying to seduce him. He looks at her with total disgust and asks if she really thought that acting all sweet and submissive would be enough to make him change his mind. He tells her that they are done and warns her not to cling to him anymore. He tells her she should just go live happily with that Kisogawa guy. But then, guys, she drops a total bombshell. She claims that living with Kisogawa is impossible because she was actually forced by him that day. Mitsuhiko is completely shocked, asking if she's really trying to say she was forced. She starts getting loud again, spinning a story about how Kisogawa suddenly barged into their house. Mitsuhiko tells her to be quiet and calls out her lousy lie. However, Misae challenges him, asking if he actually saw her cheating or if he only saw the aftermath when he returned home. Mitsuhiko is left thinking to himself that it's true. He only saw what happened after he walked in. We pick up with Misae acting totally arrogant. She challenges Mitsuhiko, telling him that if he's going to claim she cheated, he better bring some proof. She smirks and says that without proof, he can't actually divorce her. Mitsuhiko is clearly frustrated, thinking to himself that she is really hitting him where it hurts, since he didn't have any physical evidence. But then, out of nowhere, a voice shouts that they already have the proof. Mitsuhiko turns around in total shock to find Nanako and Akari standing right there. He's baffled and asks what on earth they are doing there. Akari gives him a cheeky wink and tells them they are the reinforcements, while a very serious Nanako apologizes and says they were just too worried about him to stay home. Misae is losing it, demanding to know who these girls even are. Akari doesn't hold back at all, calling Misae an old hag and saying it doesn't matter who they are. She tells Misae that she's a pathetic grown woman for betraying her husband for fun and then trying to lie and cry her way back. This sends Misae into a rage. She calls Akari a brat and raises her hand to slap her across the face.
But Mitsuhiko is faster. He grabs Misae's wrist midair and tells her to sit down, asking if she is seriously going to hit a child. Misae is stunned and asks if he's really taking their side over hers, even asking if he likes them more than her. Mitsuhiko gives her a cold look and says this isn't about who he likes. He tells her that hitting a kid is not how a rational adult behaves. After making sure Akari is okay, which makes her blush like crazy by the way, the twins get down to business. Nanako declares that they brought the evidence. She tells everyone that they have the trump card they mentioned earlier, actual proof that Misae cheated. Misae is terrified, asking what they are talking about. The twins pull out a phone and show a photo of Misae with another man. Nanako explains that they were actually in the building that day and witnessed Misae letting a man into the apartment. Misae ties one last desperate lie, claiming the photo is edited, but Akari shuts her down instantly, asking if she can still say it's edited after seeing the video. She shows a recording of Misae being very intimate with the guy in the hallway. Misae starts screaming for them to stop and not to look, looking completely humiliated. Nanako doesn't show any mercy. She says that with this evidence, they can take her to court where she will definitely lose. She points out that Misae will have to pay massive damages and asks if she can even afford that. Akari adds that this is exactly why Misae came crawling back to Mitsuhiko in the first place. The twins state that they are ready to testify in court and ask Misae if she's still going to keep lying. Finally, Misae breaks. She hangs her head and says she's sorry. She admits to the cheating, the betrayal, and the lies, saying she will apologize for everything. In a final act of desperation, Misae gets on her knees and begs for forgiveness. She admits that she has no savings, has never had a real job, and can't even go back to her own family. She looks up at Mitsuhiko and asks if he is really going to abandon her. Mitsuhiko looks down at her with zero emotion and simply says, yeah. He tells her flat out that he is abandoning her because he hates her. Mitsuhiko tells Misae flat out that he doesn't care if she apologizes, lies, or tries to guilt trip him because he isn't changing his mind. He warns her that if she keeps clinging to him, he'll take the whole matter to court. Then he drops another bombshell, revealing that he has been recording everything she said since they arrived. Misai panics, claiming that recording her isn't fair and calling it spying, but Mitsuhiko just calls her a liar and asks which sounds smarter, going to court and losing or signing the papers right there. Knowing she's trapped, Mitsuhiko tells her that they are finished and bids her goodbye as he turns to leave. But Misai, being as desperate as ever, begs him to wait and actually has the nerve to ask him to split their assets, like the apartment and the furniture. The twins are absolutely floored by her audacity, looking at her with total disbelief. Mitsuhiko doesn't even flinch. He points out that he bought the apartment and all the furniture before they even got married, so she has no right to any of it. He tells her he'll send her personal belongings like her clothes and makeup to her parents' home. The twins don't hold back their disgust, with Akari calling her human garbage for trying to squeeze money out of the man she betrayed. Nanako adds that as a fellow woman, she seriously despises her and warns her never to come near their sensei again. The scene shifts, and we see Misai left behind in the cafe, looking completely broken and defeated, while our trio walks away. It feels like a fresh start is finally happening. Back at home while they are eating dinner, Mitsuhiko suddenly mentions that the moving company is coming the next day. The twins are completely caught off guard, shouting in surprise about moving to a new place. Akari asks if he actually bought a house, but Mitsuhiko clarifies that he just rented a new spot.
Nanako is quiet for a moment, realizing that this is all part of Okurin's consideration for them. He even asks for seconds of the meal because it's so delicious, which makes the girls feel a bit better. They discuss the reason for the move, and Akari points out that the stupid wife knows where they currently live. She mentions how troublesome it would be if she tried to force her way in to squat or extort money. Mitsuhiko admits that he can't rule out the possibility of her barging in and getting violent while he's away at work, so moving is the safest bet for everyone. The twins are clearly touched by how much he's thinking about their safety. Okurin tells Akari that she's a bit too perceptive, but she just brushes it off with a smile. Akari tells him that being so considerate has always been his best virtue. Nanako tries to keep her sister in check, telling her not to get too carried away and that a lady shouldn't always voice everything she notices. Akari just teases that Okurin's kindness might be wasted on her sister, and the three of them share a rare, happy laugh together. The scene opens with Nanako sharing how truly glad she is that she came to his place. Akari adds that thanks to Okurin, she's finally able to sleep soundly every single night without any fear. She gets a little embarrassed after saying it and tells him to forget it, but Okurin is clearly moved. Nanako thanks him for showing them so much respect, and Okurin modestly replies that as the person entrusted with their care, he's just doing what feels natural. Akari just giggles to herself, realizing how genuinely happy she's becoming every day. Mitsuhiko then reminds the girls that the movers are arriving tomorrow, so they need to get their things packed up. He explains that they'll handle buying the bigger furniture once they're settled in. Nanako is really impressed by how well he plans everything out. While the girls get ready, Mitsuhiko steps away to make a difficult phone call. He tries calling the twins' mother, but there's no answer. He has to leave a voice message, identifying himself as their former cram school teacher and stating that he needs to discuss her daughters. You can really feel his frustration that their own mother is so hard to reach. Thinking about the girls, Mitsuhiko tells himself that he won't abandon them because, in a way, they actually saved him when he was at his lowest. The twins tell him that they want to help with the move because he always tries to do everything by himself. Nanako asks if he'll let them shoulder just a little bit of the burden. Okurin gently turns them down, saying that this messy, dirty business isn't something children should have to bear. He pats Nanako on the head and tells them both to just live their lives freely without any worries. They then notice a super expensive, hyper-ultra deluxe bed being packed. Akari jokes about how fluffy it is, and Okurin mentions how shameless his ex-wife was for trying to claim such an expensive item as her own. He tells them he really doesn't need such a huge bed anymore. Akari is curious about where they are going, and he tells her the new place is only about 20 minutes away by car. The twins are absolutely blown away that he even owns a car. They question if having a car in the city center is a bit wasteful, but then they realize that Misai probably used it for her own dates and shopping trips, even though she never even cooked a meal for him. Akari gets all worked up just thinking about it, but Okurin tells them that it's all in the past and they should just hurry up and get in. In a classic sister move, Akari playfully forces Nanako into the passenger seat so she can ride right next to Okurin. Nanako is blushing like crazy and getting super flustered. She admits to herself that riding in the front alongside him feels just like they're on a real date. The scene starts with Akari teasing her sister, saying that Nanako is getting all red and will probably collapse when a real date actually happens. Nanako tries to deflect by suggesting that Akari should be the one to ride in the front seat instead. Akari pretends to be totally fine with it, but Nanako calls her out, saying that Akari is actually just as embarrassed about riding in the passenger seat as she is. Okurin finally loses his patience with their bickering and tells them both to just get in the back seat together.
As they settle in, he reminds them not to forget their seatbelts. Akari tries to use the moment for a bit of sex appeal, complaining that the seatbelt is way too tight because her chest is so large. Okurin doesn't even blink. He just tells her to put it on anyway because he doesn't want her getting hurt if he has to slam on the brakes. The girls realize that their usual tricks don't work on him at all. Nanako notes that unlike the boys in their class who stare at them with childish and disgusting eyes, Okurin's lack of desperation is actually really calming. Akari agrees, thinking that his composure is one of his best qualities. Okurin just sighs to himself, thinking about what a couple of idiots they are being. Of course, Akari can't stay quiet for long. She starts bouncing around and being loud to show off, which leads to Nanako scolding her for trying to distract Okurin while he's driving. Akari just brushes it off, pointing out that Okurin isn't even looking back at them anyway. They finally arrive at the new place, and it's a massive 2-story house. Nanako is immediately worried that it looks way too expensive, but Akari is just amazed by Okurin's success. Okurin explains that while the house is a bit old, it's been renovated and is very comfortable. He mentions that he chose this specific spot because it's close to his new publishing company, and more importantly, it's within cycling distance for the twins to get to their school. The girls are deeply touched when they realize he actually considered their needs when renting the house. Nanako gives him a heartfelt thanks, and Okurin modestly says that as their guardian, taking care of them is only natural. Akari is so overwhelmed with happiness that she hugs him from behind, declaring that he really is the best. Okurin gets a bit flustered and tells Akari she isn't a little kid anymore, so she shouldn't be hugging him like that. He tells her she should save those kinds of hugs for her boyfriend, but Akari just teases him back, claiming that he can just be her temporary boyfriend for now. Meanwhile, back at the old publishing company, things are absolutely falling apart. The flashy coworker, Kisogawa, is on the phone with a famous author named Rushia-sensei, and he's in a total panic. He begs her to say she's joking, but she tells him very clearly that she won't write for their label anymore. She says that an editorial department without Okurin has no value to her at all. The boss stands nearby, looking absolutely stunned, as she realizes just how big of a mistake she made by letting Okurin go. We start off with the editor-in-chief noticing that Kisogawa is acting incredibly suspicious. She asks if something is wrong, or if he's run into some kind of trouble. Kisogawa, clearly sweating bullets, tries to brush it off by stuttering that it's absolutely nothing and insisting there's no way there could be a problem. But as soon as he turns away, his face tells a completely different story. He looks totally panicked, wondering on earth how things ended up in such a disaster. He realizes that he needs to find a way to fix the situation as quickly as possible. In a desperate attempt to escape the awkwardness, he suddenly announces that he's heading outside for a little bit and just makes a run for it. It looks like the consequences of his actions are finally starting to catch up to him. Then we switch gears to the famous author, Rushia-sensei. She doesn't seem happy with the current situation at all. She mentions with a huff that there is absolutely no way she would ever consider writing for a place that doesn't have Okurin as her editor. Despite being a major star in the publishing world, her loyalty is completely with him. She gazes off into the distance, quietly wondering to herself if Okurin is doing okay after everything he's been through.
Our girl heads out, leaving the blonde in charge, promising she won't be out too late. It's a quick exit, but you can tell something big is about to go down with this meeting. When Rushia finally shows up, she's looking absolutely ethereal with that white hair and red eyes combo. She seriously looks like a living Japanese doll, just radiating an aura that hits different. This isn't just any random meeting. Rushia Kaida is a massive light novel author from the previous job. Seeing her sitting there in that kimono has us wondering what her angle is. We're flashing back to her debut work, Senmoushi, which was such a masterpiece that she's still smug about it. The editor remembers it well, even if the title made it sound like the author was already dead. That series was an absolute banger, snagging awards, running over 10 volumes, and even getting an anime adaptation. She's a certified heavyweight in the industry, so having her here is kind of surreal. Despite her massive fame, she carries herself with total elegance and speaks so politely. You can tell she was raised right, just dripping with class and good breeding. She was actually one of the main pillars holding up the old publishing company with her hits. She's basically royalty in this business, standing tall next to the heavy hitters. So the big question drops. Why would a superstar like her want to work with a tiny, brand new label like ours? The math just isn't mathing, and we need to know what she's thinking. Our guy keeps it 100 with her, explaining that this new label is broke and has zero marketing budget compared to the big leagues. We can barely get books on shelves, let alone push a bestseller. He lays it all out, warning her that joining us is a massive gamble where even a legend could flop hard. It's a risky move that makes zero sense for someone at the top of their game. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her straight up that he refuses to be the reason her career takes a nosedive. He's putting her reputation above his own success, which is a rare sight. Russia just starts giggling, amused by how brutally honest he's being compared to the trash she's used to dealing with. She's definitely seeing something in him that the others lacked. The editor is totally lost, wondering who exactly she's calling trash. The sudden shift in her vibe has him confused and a little on edge. She smiles and confirms that he's the real deal because he actually cares about the author's future, instead of just chasing quick profits. Turns out, being a decent human being is the ultimate riz in this cutthroat industry. Akaya drops his manifesto, insisting that authors and fans are the main event while the company just runs support. He's acting like a total saint, claiming he's powerless without the creatives to back him up. We get a glimpse of the ideal world where sales don't corrupt the art, keeping the holy trinity of works, authors, and fans pure. It's all about that authentic connection, not just moving units for a quick buck. Russia takes a bite of her snack and throws shade at all the incompetent editors out there who just don't get it. She's basically saying Akaya is built different compared to the headaches she usually deals with. Then she drops a bombshell, looking dead serious while confessing she refuses to work with anyone but him. Akaya is standing there stunned, probably wondering if he heard that right. She instantly realizes how down bad that sounded and starts backpedaling hard to save face. She's flustered, trying to clarify she's talking strictly professional, not confessing her undying love. Akaya steps in to de-escalate the panic, casually dropping that he likes her too, which definitely sends her heart rate spiking. She's absolutely cooking in that kimono, trying to process his smooth recovery. He doubles down with zero hesitation, guaranteeing her next book is going to be a certified banger. Russia is blushing so hard she has to cover her face, clearly not used to someone believing in her like this. She's floating on cloud 9 with literal hearts in the air, completely vibing with the praise. But Akaya brings us back to reality, reminding us that talent alone might not save them from their tiny budget. He lays out the hard truth that in this game, you need an anime adaptation or a massive media mix to actually blow up. Without that multimedia push, even a great story can get buried. He keeps it 100, admitting their small operation has zero pull to get an anime greenlit, which could stall her momentum. He's terrified of dragging her down, proving he really is putting her career over his own bag. Russia cuts through the noise and insists she's riding with him regardless of the risks. She claims she's making this choice for her own sake as a creator, shutting down his self-sacrificing act. She hits him with a dazzling smile and officially locks in the partnership, leaving no room for argument. Akaya just stands there, realizing he's officially lost the battle to push her away. They seal the deal with a handshake, and she drops a hint that she's planning on sticking around for the long haul. It's a done deal, and the partnership is officially live. As she heads out, she casually tells him to forget about the budget issues because big news is coming. She's got that look of someone who knows she's about to break the internet. Akaya thinks she's just being sweet and trying to cheer him up, completely missing the plot. But Russia walks away with a smirk that says she's holding all the aces and he has no clue what's coming. The boss bursts in with zero chill, screaming that something massive just happened. Akaya is looking at him like he's lost his mind, wondering why the editor-in-chief is acting this wild. Turns out we just bagged a huge advertising gig from a literal megacorp, the Kaida Group. Akaya's brain instantly short-circuits because that name sounds way too familiar. He starts connecting the dots, realizing this is the same group that owns the massive bank and basically runs the economy. It makes absolutely no sense for financial titans to be looking at a broke indie label. The boss confirms it's real and says they literally just showed up at the office a moment ago. Both of them are sweating bullets, totally unable to figure out why these corporate overlords are knocking on their door. Then the realization hits Akaya like a truck. He remembers Russia-sensei. He instantly links Kaida Russia to the Kaida group and starts sweating for a different reason. The boss is completely oblivious, just hyped that a famous author wants to write for us. He's ready to grind, thinking this is just a lucky break and not a massive nepotism play. He's flexing about not letting her talent go to waste, looking determined to make this work. Akaya stands there doing mental gymnastics, trying to figure out if this is just a wild coincidence. Akaya asks if Russia Kaida is her government name, praying for a no. The boss confirms it's just a pen name, which lets him breathe a sigh of relief, briefly. They laugh it off, agreeing that a billionaire heiress writing light novels is a trope that only exists in fiction. They convince themselves there's no relation, which is hilarious because the universe loves irony. Cut to the literal Kaida residence, a massive estate that screams old money and power. The denial is strong, but that sign on the gate isn't lying to anyone. Akaya shows up and instantly realizes he's caught in 4K. She really is the heiress. He spots the nameplate and freezes, while she casually strolls through the courtyard in her kimono. But before he can even process the truth, he's getting blocked by a frantic employee. He's begging on his knees, screaming that the company will collapse without Russia's help. Russia spots him from a distance, and her expression goes ice cold. She whispers, "That man," and the vibe shifts from awkward to dangerous in a split second. The bodyguard puts on his shades and cracks his knuckles, clearly ready to handle business. Akaya is screaming for mercy, but this guy has zero chill and is about to escort him off the premises, violently. Next thing we know, our boy is airborne, getting tossed like a rag doll. He's staring at the sky upside down, wondering how a business negotiation turned into a WWE match. The guy is laid out on the pavement, completely confused, while Russia stares down at him like he's trash. She hits him with a cold, "What are you?" That absolutely destroys his ego. She gets right in his face, offended that a lowly editor would dare address her so casually. Her eyes go dark, and you can tell she's about to end this man's whole career. Then it hits him. The Kaida name isn't a coincidence, and he's talking to literal royalty. He starts stammering, realizing he just called a billionaire heiress a brat. He's down bad on the floor, trying to process that she belongs to the Kaida group. The realization that he's messing with the top 1% has him shook. We're talking about a family that basically controlled the entire country's economy and politics back in the day. They aren't just rich, they are the definition of power. He can't wrap his head around why someone with that kind of generational wealth would be grinding as a light novel author. It makes zero sense to him when she could just be living the high life. But then the greed kicks in, and he instantly realizes this is his golden ticket to the easy life. He figures if he sucks up to her now, he can ride her coattails to the top. He switches up his attitude so fast it's embarrassing, introducing himself with a fake smile like he didn't just get tossed out. He's desperately trying to salvage the situation with a late apology. He starts glazing her up immediately, complimenting her beauty to try and score some points. It's painful to watch him try to charm his way out of this disaster. He keeps piling on the praise, listing her status and talent like a fanboy, completely missing the fact that she despises him. Her eyes are dead, and she is absolutely done with his nonsense. He's laughing, thinking he's actually won her over, but Russia just quietly drops a command to her bodyguard. She tells him to do it, and the vibe shifts instantly. Suddenly, our guy gets launched into the air for the second time today, screaming as he flies away. The bodyguard clearly doesn't get paid by the hour to listen to this guy's yap. He lands hard and immediately checks his phone reflection, terrified that his precious face might be damaged. But before he can even recover, he hears a voice behind him. Russia steps up and commands him to be silenced like he's a stray dog barking too loud. He yells back, demanding to know what her problem is, totally losing his cool. He starts panicking, pointing a shaking finger and threatening to call the cops if she takes another step. He is absolutely terrified, realizing he has zero power here. Russia hits him with the coldest stare imaginable, basically daring him to go ahead and make that call. She's completely unbothered by his threats, acting like he's a toddler throwing a tantrum. She tells him to go for it, but warns him not to lay a finger on her bodyguard while he cries to the cops. The level of disrespect here is astronomical. Then she switches up the vibe, taunting him with this innocent look while asking why he's hesitating. She's playing with her food before she eats it. This guy actually takes the bait and screams into his phone, demanding the police come save him from assault. He is panicking so hard, he's probably forgetting his own name. But the call won't even go through, and the realization starts to creep in that he's completely isolated. He's staring at his screen in horror, wondering how a literal emergency number is leaving him on read. Russia looks back with a smirk, letting him know that the Qaeda influence reaches places he can't even comprehend. Underestimating her was the last mistake he'll ever make in this industry. She spells it out for his tiny brain. He just declared war on the granddaughter of the Qaeda family head. The Qaeda group runs this country, and he's just a bug on their windshield. Now that he knows exactly how screwed he is, she lets him know he's officially on her bad side. The bodyguard looming in the back is just the cherry on top of this disaster sundae. She starts listing his crimes, and the first one is straight up disrespecting her craft. She caught him lacking when he mocked her work, and she took that personally. She calls him out for ignoring the final manuscript of her legendary series, Senmoshi. You can see the sweat pouring down his face because he definitely didn't read a single page. That finale was a masterpiece she built with her favorite editor, yet this guy treated it like scrap paper. Ignoring her best work without any feedback was a massive slap in the face. But the art critique isn't even the worst part. Her eyes go completely dead as she prepares to drop the real reason he's finished. This is the moment he realizes he messed with the wrong one. He tries to defend himself, screaming that he never touched anyone important to a rich heiress. But she cuts him off, revealing he hurt the one person who actually matters to her. She exposes him for getting Akaya fired, and suddenly everything clicks into place. This wasn't about business. This was revenge for taking out her favorite editor. She did her homework and knew a top-tier editor like Akaya would never just quit on his own. She saw right through the lies and dug up the truth, and now it's payback time. Akaya was the only one who kept it real, treating her like a genuine creator instead of just some rich Nippo baby. He respected the craft, not the clout, and that's why he's the GOAT. That level of genuine respect hit different, making her feel seen as an actual artist for the first time. She's blushing just thinking about how he valued her skills over her family name. But this clown standing in front of her ruined everything with his shady politics, forcing Akaya out of the company. She knows exactly what went down, and she's letting him know his scheming is the reason they're in this mess. She hits him with the coldest rejection possible, telling him to vanish because he's absolute trash. There's zero chance she's ever lifting a finger for him or this company again. And just to make sure he's fully cooked, she promises to report this entire incident directly to her grandfather. He's about to have the full weight of the Qaeda empire raining down on his head. Now he's desperate, reaching out and begging like his life depends on it, which it probably does. He's offering to get on his knees and do anything just to stop the inevitable destruction coming his way. He tries to yap about facts, but she shuts that noise down instantly because she doesn't need his worthless apologies. Akaya is gone because of him, and that's the only truth that matters. Her eyes go completely void of light as she tells him to burn that fact into his brain forever. This is the face of a woman who holds a grudge, and he's never going to forget this massive L. She turns her back on him for good, ordering him to get lost before things get even uglier. He's officially exiled, and the bridge isn't just burned, it's nuked. Back at the base, the squad agrees that a publishing house without Akaya is basically worthless anyway. If the king isn't on the throne, the whole kingdom might as well burn. The girls are chatting about the schedule, and it turns out the legendary Russia-sensei is actually pulling up to write for us. The hype is real because securing a meeting with someone of her status is basically impossible for a small crew.